Sports Talk. I'm Craig Koger.
And I'm Nick Podkins.
We're going to get it started today with the NBA game yesterday, the rematch of last year's finals, Lakers and Celtics. The Celtics go to LA and win this game. What's your take?
Well, the Celtics played team basketball, and the Lakers they played Kobe Bryant basketball, and that's the big difference. Going down the stretch, it looked like Kobe was going to take over that game. He made 7 in a row. Then they switched Ray Allen on him, and Ray Allen played a little bit better than what Paul Pierce was doing. And it seemed like the Lakers, they just let Kobe Bryant try to do a lot of isolation, and it didn't work. He missed a lot of shots down the stretch. And some of these other Lakers, Ron Artest had struggled all game long, and he looked kind of slow and sluggish. Lamar Odom was about the only other Laker that had a decent game. Where was Paul Gasol in this game? Where was a couple of these other Lakers? They needed to step it up, and they didn't do it. Only 10 assists for the Lakers. That's low. That's actually a team low since like the 1960s. They haven't had that many low of assists. And while the Celtics had Rajon Rondo going, and he had 15, 16 assists, so he had more assists than the whole Lakers team did. And I think that's what happened. I mean, the Lakers didn't play their team ball, and the Celtics played their team ball with that core group.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. It's a team game. Kobe Bryant is one of the best isolation players in the league, but going against a team like the Boston Celtics that play very good team basketball, you gotta spread the floor. You gotta spread it out. You got a lot of options there. You got Pau Gasol. You got Lamar Odom. Jeff Fisher. There's a lot of guys on that team that can make plays. It's not just Kobe Bryant's team. It's not like LeBron when he was in Cleveland. Kobe's got a lot of players, and the Lakers are good when they share the ball, and the Lakers lose when Kobe Bryant takes a ton of shots. I mean, that's just we've seen that in the history, and the Lakers, they just did not play very good team basketball. Like you said, they played Kobe Bryant basketball, and it came back to hurt him in the end.
Yeah, on Kobe's defense, I know he scored 41, and it wasn't good enough. But I mean, it seems like a lot of these other Lakers, they're not trying to get open. They're just letting, Kobe is taking a lot of shots, but to his defense, it doesn't seem like these other Lakers are really trying to get open, or do they seem like they wanted the ball yesterday? And Kobe, obviously, he'll take the ball anytime he wants and can get it. Moving on, the Cleveland Cavaliers are 20 straight losses. Tonight they play the Miami Heat. Looks like it could be loss number 21. How bad is Cleveland, and how bad is the state of Cleveland right now?
Right now, Cleveland Cavalier fans and Dan Gilbert are they're hurting right now, and they're going to have 0 wins at the end of this month because I don't think that they're going to beat the Miami Heat in this game. Right now, I don't think the Cleveland Cavaliers can really beat anybody in the NBA. I think they are the worst team in the NBA right now. It's definitely a rebuilding year, and I'd say right now on that championship prediction that Dan Gilbert had, he better hope Miami doesn't win it this year because Cleveland's definitely not.
Yeah, it just keeps getting worse and worse. This is like adding salt to the injury. They're worse than the injury after LeBron leaves. And this kind of makes the case for LeBron to be an MVP. How bad Cleveland is. This is the same group of guys, that he played with. And then he leaves, and now look how bad they are. The question is, do you feel bad for the Cleveland fans, or do you feel bad for, who do you feel bad for in this situation as well?
You know what, I kind of feel bad for the Cleveland fans because everybody, kind of had this hope that LeBron was going to come back. But at the same time, that is sports, and you can't rely your whole future and your whole investment on one guy's decision. And this case has proven that.
Yeah, maybe Cleveland will get lucky. I do feel bad for their fans. I don't really feel bad for the players or Dan Gilbert. You could have went out and maybe got a free agent as well, or tried to do something else after LeBron, maybe try to trade him or something. It didn't work out. You shouldn't have came out and said what you said after LeBron left either, and that was kind of bad on his part. It looks bad on him, and now this team looks really bad. Maybe they'll get the first pick in the draft. They're going to be right up there as one of the worst teams in the league, if not the worst, and maybe they'll have a chance of getting that draft pick if the ping pongs bounce their way come draft lottery time.
All right, sticking in the NBA, Jim O'Brien is out as the Indiana Pacers head coach. Larry Bird made the decision. What's your take on this?
This is a decent decision. The Pacers, they got some talent, young, good talent. They got Brandon Rush. They got Danny Granger, who's a former All-Star. They got Roy Hibbert as well. And a couple other guys, solid hands when they need to keep developing some of this young talent. They did trade for Darren Collison for the Hornets to secure that point guard spot in the offseason, but obviously they weren't getting it done. I think they kind of hoped maybe they could contend for the maybe 8th seed, 7th seed in the East, but it doesn't look like they're going to be able to do that. And if it doesn't turn around, maybe this is Larry Bird's last year. Maybe they may not bring him back either. And maybe Larry should step down and he should coach that team, because I remember when he was coaching the Pacers that he was taking them to the NBA Finals and Eastern Conference Finals as well.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think I'm not going to say that it's the right move. I'm not going to say that this Frank Vogel is the coach of the future for the Indiana Pacers, but it definitely was time for a change. Like you said, this team has a lot of good young talent on it, and they've showed some promise. They played well with some of the best teams in the league, but their record is not good right now. They're last place, I believe, in their division, if not second to last place in their division. And like you said, the Indiana Pacers, they haven't been very good for a couple of years. Ever since Jim O'Brien's been their coach, I believe he's got something like a 45 games under 500 record as a head coach there. They haven't been very good. They've had a lot of high draft picks lately. They've got a lot of young talent. They need to get a guy in there that can do something with it.
And here's the thought. Maybe Larry Brown could come back to Indiana and get that team going. He left Charlotte. Another stop for Larry Brown maybe on the way up to start of next season. It could work out. Maybe him and Larry Bird will get together and make that happen.
All right, moving on from the NBA to college basketball. It's a crazy week in college basketball, especially a crazy weekend, and especially in the Big East. What's your take on all this action going on in the Big East this week?
It seems like the Big East, man, this top-notch talent seems to go there, and even when the lower teams, when they play top-notch talent like, say, St. John's and Duke, which we'll get into in a little bit, there's so good talent there. These teams are kind of flip-flopping. I think it's going to be hard for all these teams to get into the tournament, because they're going to beat up on each other all through the season. I think that's why you're able to see Notre Dame go in to beat Pittsburgh. I was able to see kind of what we like to call upsets, but really the talent's so, I think, level across in the Big East. And now we're even seeing Syracuse lose to a couple teams like Seton Hall and Marquette, but those teams also play these upper echelon Big East teams. And when a good team in the Big East has a bad night against one of those lower teams in the Big East, I think that lower teams in the Big East can win, because they face that tough talent all year round.
Yeah, I agree with you. Right now, the Big East in basketball, it kind of reminds me of the SEC in football. Even the teams that are not very good in that conference can play well against some of the best teams in other conferences, because they play such good competition all year. And right now, the Big East is very competitive. They've got something like 7 teams in the top 25 right now, and they're all beating on each other. I mean, it's like, one team beats this team, then this team beats that team, then they beat each other. So it's kind of even hard to tell who is the best team in the Big East right now, because every week it's changing. There's a big game tonight in the Big East. We'll get into that later on towards the end of our show. But right now, the Big East, still, even with all the losses this last week, definitely the best conference in college basketball right now.
Do you think since these teams will beat it up, I mean, does that take an effect on the tournament? Because we haven't really seen a Big East team make it to the Final Four here lately. They seem to get to Elite Eight or putt and then start slowly puttering out. Is that going to make a big difference? Does this make a big difference, this competition beating each other up?
You know what, in my opinion, I would think that it would help them come tournament time, but historically it's showed to not help them. Maybe it does kind of give these teams like a wear and tear, because their regular season is a lot more competitive and a lot more strenuous than a lot of these other teams that are in the tournament.
Yeah, you're exactly right. I think the experience of playing a top-notch team would get them farther in the tournament, but I do think it takes a wear and tear on your body and wear and tear on the game, and maybe kind of get burnt out and drained out, but when it comes tournament time, playing top-notch talent. Moving on, sticking with the kind of the Big East, St. John's beats down Duke. Is it trouble time in Duke, or is this just a bad game on a bad day?
You know what, it was a bad game by Duke. It was a bad first half. Their second half wasn't too bad, but by halftime they were down by 20 points, and that's a big hole to try to get yourself out of. They were playing at St. John's. St. John's had the crowd behind them, and it's hard to get yourself out of a 20-point hole when that comes. Obviously, they're missing a little bit of point guard play, but Duke is still, I don't think it's panic time. They were exposed a little bit when they lost to Florida State, but I don't think it's panic time. I still think Duke is one of the best teams in the country. Everybody suffers a couple losses throughout the year. Come tournament time, Duke's going to be a tough team to beat.
Yeah, they're still a top-notch team, but I do think they are struggling. Their defense struggled yesterday. They didn't play very good defense. I think you're exactly right. I think they're really missing Kyrie Irving right now. What he brought to that team early this season, we are hoping that maybe he can come back later in the season. There's questions that he may not even come back at all. But also, this also goes back to the Big East. Like I said, these bottom feeders on the Big East, where they play a top-notch team in another conference. Well, they play top-notch in their own conference. They can beat other teams, and St. John's played a heck of a game. I don't think anybody really thought they would beat Duke as bad, maybe get a close win if they were going to win that game. But they just flat out blew them out. It was a bad game by Duke. They didn't get it going from the three-point range, and that's the sound of their game. They're a three-point shooting team, and when that doesn't fall for you, that doesn't do very good, and then that's why you're going to lose games if you live and die by the three. And they died yesterday by the three-point.
All right, and moving on, more NFL news. Michael Vick gets the franchise tag from the Philadelphia Eagles. What does this mean for Michael Vick, and what does this mean for Kevin Kolb?
Well, Vick is going to stay with the Eagles. I mean, we all kind of figured that out, whether he's going to end up signing a couple years extension, or now the franchise tag, which definitely means he's going to come back next season. Kevin Kolb, the Eagles are going to try to trade him. You got to think. And he's going to be another veteran quarterback on the move. There's going to be quite a few quarterbacks, I think, on the move. I mean, we could go down the list, of McNabb, Vince Young, Kevin Kolb, just to name three, possibly the 3 or 4 or 5 maybe, that quarterbacks that could be on the move. And there's a lot of teams looking for a veteran quarterback. Kolb could come in and, help a team win right away. I mean, he knows how to play. It seemed like he knew how to play there in Philadelphia. He played well, but he just never really got his opportunity now that Mike Vick was taken on. Now he's getting the franchise tag.
Yeah, I agree with you. Philadelphia Eagles, I think this move obviously shows other teams around the league that start putting your offers in for Kevin Kolb. There's a lot of teams out there that need a quarterback, and he's a guy that's ready to play at the NFL level. He's not a guy that needs to sit behind somebody. He's a guy that you can trade for, and he's your starting quarterback. He's shown that he can start in the NFL. For some of these teams, not sure what Oakland Raiders are doing at their quarterback position, but, I mean, Tennessee, if Vince Young's on his way out, they'll be looking for a quarterback. Arizona's looking for a quarterback. And some of these teams could take a quarterback in the draft, but they could use a guy like Kevin Kolb to come in and be the starter right now.
Yeah, especially with a talent like Arizona does. They have a talent where the team where they just need a kind of a quarterback, and he could definitely take them there. Maybe even the Redskins, if they're going to get rid of McNabb, maybe they could work out a deal there. They've did a little business last year as well, so it'll be interesting to see where Kevin Kolb goes.
All right, and before we go, we'll get to our 2 pick'em games tonight, college basketball. First game, Louisville at Georgetown. Number 13, Georgetown hosting number 15, Louisville. Both these teams had big wins this weekend. How do you see this one turning out?
I like Louisville. I like the way they play their defense. I like Rick Pitino. I think he coaches that team really well. They don't really have that super stud, but they don't ever seem like they really need that super stud guy, talent guy. They play great team ball, and I'm going to go ahead and take Louisville in this one. I'm
gonna take Georgetown at home. Both these teams coming off big wins. I think both these teams have a lot of momentum going into this game, and this is a big game, Big East game for both these teams. And Georgetown, I think at home, I think I'm going to give them the slight edge. Both these teams are good, but I'm going to go with Georgetown. And before we go, second game, number 3 Texas, looking like one of the best teams in the country, playing rival Texas A&M. How do you see this one?
I like Texas to win this game. Texas A&M is a decent ball team, but Texas, is too good. Rick Barnes has got that team. He's coaching them up, and remember last year they were ranked number 1, and they fell off after they lost, and they fell completely off the map. Now it looks like they're back on the map trying to play good basketball. I like Texas.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think Texas is going to win this game. They dominated Missouri, who's been a very good basketball team most of the year. They handled them with no problem. And they also beat Kansas 2 weeks ago. So right now I'd say Texas looks like possibly behind Ohio State, one of the best teams in the country. And I'm going to stick with Texas.
All right, thanks for tuning in, sports fans. Make sure you tune in Friday for our breakdown of the Super Bowl. I'm Nick Bodkins.
And I'm Craig Coger. Don't forget, check us out on Facebook and email any comments and questions to BnK Sportstalk at hotmail.com.